Talking NASCAR on Prime Sports Network. Eric Smith, live from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Where can you get that anywhere else on YouTube except one channel? How's it going,
Right.
Eric?
Doing well here for setup day. I guess technically, fans could come, but nobody's here. I don't know why you would be here. So kind of behind the scenes here, Indianapolis.
Yeah. When does everything get started?
Early tomorrow, 9 a.m. IndyCar practice. But for NASCAR, it'll be early Saturday morning. I believe it's 9:30 for the Xfinity Series. They're practicing qualifying, and then it's 9:35 because Cup Series is 11:35, and then Xfinity race 5:30 on Saturday, and Cup race at 2:30 on Sunday.
Yeah, we just recorded your IndyCar report, so that will be available on the channel. So check that out if you're an IndyCar fan. Obviously, Eric will give his insight, his 5 main topics, and also, of course, check out racereviewonline.net for all of his in-depth analysis and predictions on the race. As far as this week, before we talk NASCAR this week, let's wrap up last week. And I don't know, who was it that said Ford was a good wager last week?
Yep,
Eric?
that was us right here. They would, if you listened, we should have won them some money, some plus money.
What were they doing at plus 250 to 1? What?
I have no idea. That we talked about that. That third worst odds out of the 3 manufacturers, and that was easy to cash in, and 9 in a row. Like we talked about the year before, there was a similar circumstances year before going to that race, and they won, and here we are. Granted, you could say they didn't have the fastest car. I'd say Truex did, but you still have to win the race, and Buescher did. So,
yeah, I just posted on DraftKings has Ford. Now, look, they're 330 to 1 this week. Makes more sense, but they just have something. I think Ford is just, if they were 250 to 1 last week, I think they would have been 2 to 1 or higher all season. That's what I just think it is. So, why last week? Who knows? Hopefully, everybody took advantage of that. And it was Chris Buescher, though, winning for a second consecutive time. It is so hard to win back-to-back in NASCAR and the Cup Series, but for Chris Buescher to do it, I'm saying this right now. This is the first time ever that I remember watching NASCAR, going all the way back over 25 years, watching this sport almost, that I recall a long shot driver like Chris Buescher winning back-to-back races.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that's the whole. We talked last week on our show that hey, he could be a formidable option. It's just is he going to win 2 in a row? Now I think it opens that door. I mean, I think it was 264 starts. I've got it up the stat up on the website in an article, but I think it's 264, 268. So it doesn't matter. He had 2 wins and 260 plus starts, and then he wins 2 in 15 or 8 days, basically, between Richmond and Michigan. So that's impressive. And I think, as we talked about last week, and now even more, we have to start taking RFK racing seriously now. I mean, Keselowski was right there. That's 2 straight races that those two have finished in the top 6. Keselowski's got 3 top 6s his last 4. And we talked about a speed track. He had it. He won. Richmond's comparable to Phoenix. He won. So we've got to start taking these guys seriously. And it's a question I had in my burning questions this week. Is RFK the best Ford team right now in the sport? Could you say that? Because Penske, they're not that much better.
I wouldn't get carried away, but I see what you're saying. No. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They're better than Stewart-Haas, I'd say. I'd say they definitely closed that gap.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And
absolutely.
Think about where they were a couple of years ago. One could say they were one of the worst Ford teams. And this quickly, they're right there. I mean,
they're the hottest.
4 races. Yeah. Penske's won twice and RFK's won twice. That's the only 4 wins this year. Buescher's the only Ford driver to win multiple times. So you got to think this is only the second season of Keselowski turning this ship around.
That's right.
They're on the cusp of something. So, again, it's a question. I don't necessarily think it. It's just a question to be had is if they're the best Ford team. But
well, look, I think it goes back not just the last 2 weeks. I think we can go back, like you were saying, maybe the last 4 or 5, maybe 6.
Yep.
Maybe the last 2 months they've been the best Ford team.
Yep. And that's impressive.
That's
for where
very
they've
impressive
come to where they are now. That's where that's where I think that question's relevant because you got to look at where they came.
Yep.
Penske's never gone anywhere. They're always going to be good. Stuart Haas has fallen, and you got these guys out here winning races, and it's not easy to win a Cup race. These drivers keep saying that, and Chris Buescher's won 2 in a row. That's not, and we'll get into the picks here in a minute. He could very well win 3 in a row. He's good at these road courses, which would be humongous feat. But hey, it changed my mindset a little bit because we've talked about this on the show. I don't typically pick drivers to win 2 straight weeks because it's rare. I think it's only happened 3 times.
And it's always better to only consider it usually if you have the driver win the first week.
Yes.
Then you're like almost obligated to as long as there's a chance he can win. Usually, strategically speaking, and then this is definitely a handicapping tip. Just go with them again. Not if he's a long shot and now I'm just going to take him, but if he has any sort of a shot, you take him. Like this week.
Yeah,
that's at least why I took it. Maybe that's why you took it. You and I took Buescher this week. It's just because I'm not going to. Even though we didn't take him yet, it's like I'm not going to be held without at least something if he pulls up a miraculous 3-peat. I mean, that would be crazy.
I mean, if he was 4-1, I would touch it. But, I mean, the fact he's still 20 or 20, was it 20 to 1? 20 to 1.
Just like he is, by the way, I'm posting the futures. He's still 20 to 1 on the futures. What was he last week?
Was he 40 to 1?
Was that what he was?
It's on my website. I've
40 to 1, I think so. Yes. I believe so. I believe it was 40 to 1 down from maybe 60 or 80 or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was 66 to 1 to 40 to 1 and then now he's so he
but
wins
that's even
again.
A good number,
like I said,
20 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's perfect. It's where he should be.
Yep, and that's why I liked it. That's why I took him because I got to start building him up because I do think if they could get through these playoffs, because I keep stressing he's good at road courses. Talladega's in that second round. We know what RFK can do at Talladega. If they could get to that round of 8, Martinsville's in there. He's won at a short track. If they could get through, somehow get somebody to that championship 4, he's just won Richmond. It's just the most comparable track to Phoenix right now. That usually mirrors each other.
There you go.
You got to take him seriously.
Have to. So anyway,
and I do want to add too, you do want to take advantage of him now because if he just keeps doing this, let's say he doesn't win, but he's top 5 these next few because you got 2 straight road courses here and then a super speedway, and he does what we think he can do. That's 20 to 1 is not going to stay there much longer. He could fall to 15 to 1, 12 to 1, and you've wasted. You could have got him at 66 to 40 to 1 and 20 to 1, and that could continue to drop. So I would definitely invest some money his way.
And if I was just doing futures this week, again, Harvick is still a bargain at 20 to 1, just like Buescher now. It's still a good number. If you haven't had him yet, it's still okay. And then the other one would be, I think right now he's starting to now become a bargain again, and that's Ryan Blaney. I don't expect Blaney to be in a slump like this the rest of the season. I think he's going to get hot again at least one more time. Now, when he gets hot again, he's going to have to maintain it. But I think he's got one more streak in him. And he's 14 to 1. I think that's a bargain too.
Yeah, because all it's going to take, he'll probably hover around that going into the playoffs, but all it's going to take is one playoff win, and that thing's going to go down. And we know, I expect him to win in the playoffs. He's having a better year. He just had some.
Yeah, he is having
these
a better
tracks.
Year.
Yeah, these tracks. Sometimes you can't. Granted, Richmond you could take over to Phoenix, but Michigan, other than speed, you can't take over much. So I don't buy a lot of stock in the fading him yet. I feel like, plus we know what he can do at Phoenix. At the end of the day, if you feel good about that driver making the Phoenix, then you might as well take him if they're good at Phoenix too. And Blaney finished, I mean, he could have passed Joey Logano to win that race last year. Keep remembering that.
That's right.
He let Logano win because so he wins. He could win that race this year and win the championship.
Yes.
So, yep.
By the way, just quickly, I noticed before I move away from the futures, I noticed that they have championship odds. I haven't seen this at all for IndyCar all season. Palou is still a very heavy favorite, as I guess he should be. 14 to 1 now. I mean, 1 to 14. So is it worth putting any money on Newgarden at 6 to 1 or Dixon at 100 to 1 or McLaughlin at 150 to 1?
Newgarden be the only one.
Okay.
It's going to be tough. It'd be tough to for Dixon and McLaughlin to make that much ground in 4 races. Newgard would be the one I feel best about. He's really good at Gateway in the next race. We talked about that in the IndyCar preview show. He's got to finish ahead of Polo this weekend. So yeah, that would be one I would. Obviously, you're not going to gain much in return for going Polo right now. So out of those other ones, I'd throw a few bucks Newgard's way to see what can happen.
All right, let's talk about this week. And how many do you think we have picked together?
I didn't go with as many this week. I'm going to say 2.
2's exactly right.
All right.
You and I have 8.
I was going to say, I bet me and you have a lot. CJ usually goes more favorites. I kind of punted on the favorites, so yeah. I figured me and you probably had a lot, but it wouldn't necessarily line up with what CJ had.
Yeah, CJ's top 2 long shots are Hamlin and Gibbs, and he pretty much takes Gibbs a lot. He's on his fantasy team. And for us, the 2 drivers, who are they?
Ooh, Reddick? No, I didn't take Reddick.
Nobody took Reddick.
Kyle Busch?
Yes.
And probably Hamlin.
Correct. So those are the 2. You and I have, let's see, we have Buescher, we have Cindric, we have McDowell, and we have Logano. Buescher, Cindric, McDowell, Logano. Yeah, 6 total, actually, with Kyle Busch.
That makes sense.
And with Hamlin. So those are our 6 that we have. And we get started. Look, here's the deal. Truex being 4-1, it was a bonanza for me to get him in his win at Sonoma when he was whatever he was. What was he? 25-1, something like that?
20, yeah. 22-1, 25-1, something around there. Yeah.
So that was awesome. And now that's gone. That surprise is gone. And because it's gone, it's not worth taking him at 4-1. So let's just put that in perspective. Same season, 25-1, whatever it was, 4-1. And let's remember this too. 32nd at Chicago, 17th at COA. It's not like he's 4th, 1st, and 3rd. He's had one good road course result in the last 3 years. And he's 4-1. Now look, he's the hottest driver on the circuit. I get it. I think he should be the favorite. But 4-1 is just way too low on a road course.
Same reason why I punted him. Same way. I thought, like, hey, he would be among the favorites. I mean, he's 8 top 7 finishes his last 10 races. Coming into this, he's finished 1st, 3rd, 7th, 2nd last 4 weeks. But as you said, he's got 1 top 15 on road courses this year. Top 15. That's for 4-1, which is too steep for me when this is a week. Granted, he could come out and win and take all of our money, but
yeah, sure.
There's so much value behind where you can make a lot of money by going away from the favorites. And there's a lot of these favorites that I just frankly don't like. Truex has never won here, oval or road course. He's just never won. It's just hard to fathom him coming out and winning this year. So, yeah, 4-1, I didn't like that number.
And Reddick, pretty much the same thing. Because Reddick wins COA, 33rd Sonoma, 28 Chicago. And he's the defending champ of the race. We know he's good, just like Truex. Nowhere near as hot as Truex on the season, but you're also asking us to put money on a 5-1 driver.
Yeah, couldn't do it, especially when he's finished 16th or worse in 7 of his last 9 races on the season. Look, I get it. He's had better speed in those races. But what I don't like is they're not executing. Racing, you still have to execute. It's like stick and ball sports. You could be good. Everybody's good. You got to execute. They're not executing. They're having bad pit stops. They're speeding on pit road. They're leaving loose wheels. They're spinning. There's just – I don't like with those finishes. And if they were executing, then I would, 5-1, I'd say I'd take them. But they're not executing. I just don't expect you to go from not executing to winning. They need to execute to get a top
at
5.
5-1.
So, better value out there than that.
Because if you look at it, yes, he's been a little bit better lately, but still, he has 2 top 10s in his last 9. And like you mentioned, the runner-up at Pocono, And you know what? Like you also mentioned, if they had been fine tuning as a team better, he might have 2 wins in the last 9.
Yeah.
That's the good part. But again, he's 5-1. I'm not taking a risk that everything's going to come together on a road course at 5-1. I'm just not going to do it. Can he win? Absolutely. Can
No.
Truex win? Absolutely. The numbers are just too low. They're not dominating on the road courses for us to go that route. Because if you go that route, honestly, you probably just are better off with like maybe a couple of long shots, take Truex or Reddick, and that's it. Call it a day, and then hope they dominate. So.
Yep.
All right.
It's two different philosophies. You could win I guess you could win way more money going away from these favorites, and you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't do that in one of those sleepers like we're going to talk about and you gave out. You missed the chance on a lot of money because you don't get many races with the odds we're getting this weekend. I feel like you should capitalize on it.
And Elliott, it's like the same thing with Elliott. I mean, you like the fact that he's 5th and 3rd in his 2 road course, street course races this season. That's nice. We know how good he is in this type of format. But the fact is, they're completely discombobulated. I mean, if you think Reddick is, I mean, Elliott's team is just, there's no confidence there whatsoever at this point. It's like they seem to be, you keep thinking that, all right, maybe they're close, maybe something's going to happen, turn the corner, but it's just not good right now. And at 7-1, he's the 3rd pick. I just can't do it.
No, and don't forget too, he's in a position now. He's got to win to make the playoffs. And the factor to this, I'm going to talk to some of these Cup drivers on Saturday and their media availabilities is, remember this year we don't have stage breaks on road courses anymore. He can't go off strategy like he can't do that. And they haven't had the speed. I don't care what anybody says. Even with the top 10s he was going, there's top 10, but they weren't a top 2 or 3. They don't have the speed to win. And for a road course without the stage break criteria anymore, where you're just going to keep racing, you're going to have speed to win this race. And he doesn't have it. He's never won here. And I keep mentioning this, and not a slight against him. He's won a championship, but how many Daytona 500 wins does he have? How many Indianapolis wins does he have? How many Bristol Bristol night races, Coke 600s, Southern 500s? He's never won a major. I just don't expect it in a season like this to come to. I'm not saying this Indianapolis road course race is a major. The Brickyard be a major, not this one, but it's still Indianapolis. And in the season he's having, I'm not naive enough to think he's just going to come out and win. Those 3 drivers were very easy for me to look away from. I'm glad they got him at those odds because there's so much better odds behind them.
And we can start with the next group. You got Kyle and Van Gisbergen at 10-1, and Bell and Larson at 11-1. Interesting that Van Gisbergen is already at 10-1 because he won 1 race. Okay, good. Kyle Busch, meanwhile, hadn't fared well yet on this track, but he's been probably the best statistical road course driver this year with a couple of runner-ups, 5th on the street. So you just can't not take Kyle Busch this week. And we both did. Matter of fact, I did it to hedge, but you did it as your top choice.
I think he should be the favorite. As you said, second, 5th this year on road courses. Keep in mind, the car he's driving won last year. He's in that car. He's won the Brickyard twice here. Nobody's ever won the oval and the road course here. Why not Kyle Busch? It just seems like he's having that type of year to where he could come out and win. And 10-1, I thought, was a hell of a bargain. Nobody scored more road course points than he has this year. I almost find it insulting that you have Shane Van Gisbergen. Nothing against Shane Van Gisbergen, but he has no business being the same odds as Kyle Busch. No. And I would agree with Van Gisbergen, that Kobayashi, all the road course ringers that are coming in for this week. It's one thing for a street course because that's kind of their cup of tea, and these Cup guys have never run a street course before, and they're used to cars that handle street courses. So that's one thing. This will be the 3rd time on this road course alone. These other guys have experience here, including with this next gen. They've run road courses with this next gen for a couple. They know how to run a road course. They never knew how to run a street course. So I think it's going to be difficult. And Van Gisbergen said in his media availability too that, hey, I'm flattered they know my name now, and I'm flattered they think I should be a driver to beat. But it's a tall task to beat these guys, and this is more their backyard. So
he better sound nice because I don't think the drivers are going to be nice. I'm
He's going to
interested
get
to
moved.
see if he can finish this race.
Yep. I think he's going to get dive bombed a lot. He's going to get run different. And he mentioned he's going to race clean because he wants to run here full time. So he wants the what goes around comes around. He's like, hey, look, I've already won a race. I'd love to win Indy, obviously, but I'm not here to ruffle feathers. They're in a season. They're after championships. They're after playoffs. I don't want to ruin that for anybody. So with the guys we expect to be up front, they're going to rough him saying that too. They're going to make moves on him and force him to break and get out of it and let them by. So, I think it's going to be tough for him or any of those road course ringers to win this weekend.
Now, Bell and Larson are 11-1. Now, you did not take either of those drivers, but I invested heavily on Bell. He's my top choice. I also put some money on Larson. Bell, I just think, look, he was one of my top choices at Chicago, and I think with a little luck, he might have won that race. We know how good he is on road courses in general. We don't need to go back to the no top 5 since dirt thing. But the fact is that it is a road course, and I think he's in his element. And so that's why I'm going to go and invest on him. And with Larson, it was good for him to get back into a top 5. I still wonder if he's being inconsistent, but third in this race, the first time he ran it, he had a pretty good go there, and he's been pretty solid. Matter of fact, he's improved each of his 3 road course races this season, with the 4th at Chicago.
Yeah, I just didn't trust Hendrick yet. They've fallen off a cliff here the last month or so. So I'll be curious with Larson. Bell, the top 5 thing did scare me. It's been 16 races, and he was 31st in COTA, but he had a better car. Sonoma 9th. And then Chicago, he had a shot to win. That field flipped, and then he spun, and he was 12th last year here. So that scared me a little bit. But, again, I'm trying to swing for a fence here.
Who would you rather have, Bell or Larson?
Gee, that's a tough one. I'd say Larson, just because he's at least got some top 5s lately. He's at least kind of around. And Hendrick used to own this place on the Oval. Hot take, not really a hot take, just because I know it's probably announced soon. This is going to be a Brickyard next year. This won't be on the road course. And I just find it hard that Hendrick, as strong as they've been here, and I just said that I don't trust them, but I also find it hard to believe that we're going to run races here and them not win on this road course, and it seems to win everywhere else. So I would trust Larson a little bit more because Toyota camp, I feel like if a Toyota is going to win, you got Truex sitting there at 4-1. Bell could be a solid top 5 play this week. I know we haven't been there in a while, but this is a road course and it's different. But I would trust Larson a little bit more.
All right. Now, one of the drivers that you did take that I didn't is AJ. And AJ won the first race a couple years ago, but you kind of stole that one late. Still, he won it. We know how good he is on the road courses. 6th at Sonoma, that's his best finish on the 3 road courses. He has been underwhelming on the road courses, but at least you're getting 16-1.
That's the only reason I took him, was that 16-1, and he's good here. He was his heat suit, or the cool suit, went out last year in the race. Remember, he was up front, and he struggled to get to the end. He still finished 7th, and then his 2 Xfinity starts here, 2nd and 1st respectively. He's not finished worse than 7th on this track. So I thought for 16-1, that was a bit of a bargain. So I'll take that one.
Just want to throw in a YouTube comment. You could call this halftime in our picks. Wayne Billow, this was a comment from our show. I believe it was from last week. And we haven't heard from Wayne yet, but Wayne said, "Great review. Thanks, guys." So for Wayne, all I can say is I hope he subscribed, liked, and shared the video because I haven't heard from Wayne before. So Wayne, appreciate your comments.
Thanks, Wayne. Yeah.
And hope you did the trifecta. Okay, let's go back. Forget Suarez and Kostecki at 18-1. Suarez has done nothing on the road courses this year and nothing on this track in his two trips. I have no idea what he's doing at 18-1. Okay, who's Kostecki?
He's another supercars guy that with Van Gisbergen. He runs that same series over there in Australia.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, again, I think the same thing is going to apply not just to Van Gisbergen, but to all of these drivers that may not have been here before, like Istecki. Oh, really? You think you're going to come here and do what he did in Chicago? Not so fast. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tough at Indianapolis. This place usually picks its winners, and it's not going to pick a winner. Nothing against those guys. It's just they always hear the lore. Indy picks its winners. I don't think it's picking the supercars guy to come over here and win here already. So,
all right. Now we both have the 20-1 shots, Hamlin and Buescher. And like you said, you've got to invest a little bit more money, and that's what you've done. For me, I kind of hedged with Buescher. Like I said, I just want to make sure if he wins, I don't lose. But for Hamlin, he actually was I believe my second overall choice. And I just felt, look, he's still zoned in. He's still at the best he's been all season. He led a bunch of laps at Sonoma. So we know he's got the ability. Every like 4 or 5 road course races, he does something. Now, maybe he shot his wad this season at Sonoma, but he's hot. And I just kind of feel also, because we talked about this before, and I think it was in the beginning of the season when we were talking about how hard it was for Toyota last year. That once that trend was broken, I think drivers like all of a sudden Denny Hamlin now, I think he's in the picture. Like we never would have thought about it at the beginning of the season, but now he's in the picture.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I look at too. He's won the last 2 road course polls, Sonoma and Chicago. The driver that won the pole here last year, Tyler Reddick, won the race. You're taking the stage breaks out of here, so speed means something. Toyota's had speed. He should have won this race in 2021. Chase Briscoe kind of punted him there at the end, kind of a dirty move. So he's been hot. 4 consecutive top 7 finishes, first, second, third, the last 3 weeks. It just kind of has to write on the wall that if Truex is 4-1, how is Hamlin 22-1?
Yeah.
They both enter hot. They both can win. So, yeah, I thought he was an absolute steal at 22-1. And Buescher, I mean, he's been good on road courses. You look at rightly 8th, 4th, 10th this season. He had a fire in his car last year, and he still came back to finish 10th. And now he has 2 straight wins. These are good tracks for him. So I thought, again, 22-1 for a guy with those stats with 2 straight wins was a steal as well. So, had to go with both this week.
And Buescher also 10th and 12th here at Indianapolis. So that's, underrated. And by the way, Hamlin, also your second choice. So we both have Hamlin as our second choices overall. Neither one of us went with Byron or Chastain at 22-1. Byron was 5th at Coda. Chastain was been okay. He was 4th at Coda, 10th at Sonoma, but not so good so far in the 2 trips on this particular racetrack.
Yeah, Chastain they just seem like they're missing something right now. And he's got 1 top 5 in his last 11 starts on the season. And Byron, same way. 1 top 5 in his last 9 weeks, too.
And remember what that was. That was a stolen win.
At Atlanta. Yep. And he also has mentioned road courses. He's still learning. And so I just not good. When you could get Hamlin and Buescher for similar odds, you go that direction over these 2 for sure.
We both went with Cindric and McDowell. I went more with McDowell, doubled on McDowell than I did Cindric. McDowell has been solid in all 3 races this season, and we know he's good on these tracks. Cindric, 2nd last year, 6th Coda, 6th Chicago. So if he's going to get to the postseason, we know he's got to win one of these 2 road courses. That's it. Maybe Daytona. This is the only chance he really has. He knew this months ago, the way he was going, that these 3 races were going to be his only chance to make the postseason. And so it does make sense to put a little money on both of them. But for me, especially McDowell.
Yeah, they both, ironically enough, because I think you can make a case for Elliott and Bowman. They need to win one out of these next 3 weeks. They both need to win. So that's 2 wins. But I think you can make a case for McDowell and Cindric could win 2 of these next 3 races too. Like you just said, Cindric, he won the Xfinity race here in 2021. And he mentioned he was 2nd in the Cup race last year. So that's 2 top 2 finishes. He has to win. His only win in a Cup Series came at Daytona. That's the wrap up the regular season. He's a great road racer. McDowell, he just kind of wanted to get by these last few weeks, and he did. I know he hasn't had great finishes lately, but he's right there in the thick of things, and he's a road racer ace. I mean, he was the top 10 here last year. So, yeah, I like both of those guys for 28-1. Definitely.
We also both have Logano at 35-1, and why not? 6th in this race last year, 3rd at Sonoma, 8th at Chicago, and most of all getting 35-1 on Logano.
He usually wins races when he's at those odds.
Right.
I always cash in. So I'm like 35-1. It's a no-brainer. I'm taking Logano. Even if he's never finished the top 20 here, I'm going 35-1. And I also use his sponsor, Shell Pennzoil. That car also won the Indy 500. So why not a clean Penske sweep? The two Shell Pennzoil car wins the Indy 500, and the 22 Shell Pennzoil car for Penske wins the Verizon 200. So 35-1 seemed good numerology for me.
And my last picks, no one else took any long shots except CJ took Gibbs. I took Gibbs, Harvick as 2 reasonable long shots. Gibbs is good on road courses. Won Daytona in the Xfinity Series last year. He's been doing better lately. So at 40-1, I said, why not? Same thing with Harvick at 65-1. Let's keep in mind, same car last year. Harvick in his last, in this car last year on the road courses, he had 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up at the Roval. He has 2 top 15s this year, and in his last 4 races, these are his best 4, all in the top 11, 1 top 5, and I'm getting 65-1 on Kevin Harvick. So I said, yeah, why not? And then I just threw a buck or 2 on Keselowski because they're just so hot. And then also a buck each on Jones and Stenhouse because Eric Jones, 5 top 12s in his last 7 on the year and 4 top 11s on the road courses last year. Not so much this year, but again, 150-1. And Stenhouse at 300-1. He's a good under the radar fantasy play because he's got 2 top 15s on this track, and he has 2 top 15s on the 3 road courses this year. Matter of fact, the street race was the bad one. This is a road course, 12th Sonoma, 7th at Coda. He's an underrated top 15 fantasy road course driver is Stenhouse, and that's why I threw a buck on him.
Yeah, I like all of them. And I almost took him. I was just I was like, what? I'm just going to go heavily. I like Bubba. He's not good at road courses, but he's 5th last year here. He's in a Toyota. We talked about their improvement. And
300-1.
Yeah, and Harrison Burton and Todd Gilliland. Look where they finished last year at this race. Top 5.
Yes.
300s. They're like 300-1 as well. So it doesn't hurt to throw a buck or 2, especially if there's chaotic.
Yes.
The one change that they made this year could play a role. We'll see. Is the restart zone? If you guys remember right, last year all that chaos diving into turn 1.
Oh yeah.
They couldn't get it. This year they're going to start the race over here on the south end of the track, coming out between the 2 final corners. So it's kind of like it makes an S.
Okay.
They're going to go green over there. That way it kind of separates some things, so you don't just get a shit show at the end. That way we at least. So I'm curious because those guys got good finishes because it was crazy at the end. So I'll be curious what kind of role that plays. So, but for 300-1, they had top 5s last year. Doesn't hurt. Plus,
I still think anything could happen.
Yeah, they got to. So yeah, we're in that time of year to where you've got to go off strategy with those guys. So that plays a whole wrench. You can't just follow the guys in front of you. You're not going to win. You're not going to make the playoffs. So the strategy plays are huge this time of year.
And we'll have, again, of course, the picks report. You can find that at racereviewonline.net. We'll have a link in the description area so you can check that out. Same thing as far as Eric's in-depth previews and his reports. You can check out the links. Just go to his website, of course, and you can find them all, both NASCAR and IndyCar. We didn't have time for it this week, but next week we are going to I really do want to talk a little bit more about I could have probably went ballistic for the first 15 or 20 minutes on the fact that they had a rain delay and a suspended situation again when that could have been completely avoided. So That's just getting ridiculous now. But anyway, Martin Truex Jr. likes it.
Monday. We should name him Monday Truex Jr. The way he is. He's good on Mondays.
So maybe we'll talk more about that next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Next week, it's Watkins Glen. Then we have Daytona. And when we do Daytona, we will also bring in CJ. No, wait, that's the week after. Because we have Daytona. Then the week after, CJ will be on to preview the playoffs.
Yep, we're already there.
And don't forget, Daytona, we'll let you know in the week of the Daytona race, whether or not we're going to be able to have our live programming for the last hour of that race. So we have to just make sure of scheduling and obviously make sure the weather is okay in Daytona, which is kind of what screwed us the last time. So we'll keep you updated on that potential live race coverage in a couple of weeks. Eric, appreciate it as always.
Yep, thanks for having me.